Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. Um, we need to be very aware of the um, of what's happening around us because there is so much unrest and so much turbulence and so much events and external things that may distract us from opportunities for us to evolve and grow that may be taking place within our own sight, within our own heart, that that by the virtue of the distraction, we may not capitalize on these opportunities. And I'm saying this because I want to remind you that in 2010, I think it was the Galactic Region Council that were talking about the passage into the new Earth and the galactic equator crossing at the hills in the Catskills. And I remember for the first time through me challenging them, they brought up the idea of truth, authenticity, and transparency. And I did, and then at the very end they said all secrets will be revealed. I want to talk about this for a moment because if we are in transition into a higher dimension, truth, authenticity, and transparency, these three frequencies, are the three key frequencies that compose the cleansing and the purging that we need to go through in order for us to get to the new earth. Now, the frequency of the new earth, what's beyond that, is about liberation, it's about freedom, it's about finding the rest and the complete love of God. But we need to pass through this crucible of fire and purification that is fueled by these three things so that we can be cleansed and be whole and be reintegrated into wholeness. And I can tell you that those frequencies are giving us the opportunity to purge and remove from us, because we are all masters of self-deceit, me included. We lie to ourselves all the time, not intentionally, but by the fact that we have so many traumas and so many broken parts. As a survival mechanism, we suppress a lot of things, or our psyche suppress and hold a lot of things back to give us a opportunity to wobble along while holding back something that could be so painful and so hurtful that we may not be able to cope with it. Now, fast forward many years later, that suppression is now a hindrance and an anvil that we're wearing, or an albatross that we're wearing around our neck, and we need to figure out a way to get it off. And the cleansing in these three frequencies is allowing us, or removing the veils that was blocking us to have access to our own flaws and our own incompleteness, our own brokenness. It's removing them and allow us to have the perception and the insight to see it. Now, some of us who are passing through this moment cannot handle it. Because if you're a narcissist, the last thing you want to see is the truth. It's your real reflection. You want to create an image. You want to create a mirage. And it's the mirage, and you're gaslighting yourself and everyone else that the mirage is you. But if you're like us, where we're doing all this introspective work, this self-assessment work, this constant query and this constant inner conversation with our core, you will begin to see and understand, wait a minute, that belief system that I'm perceiving now is cockeyed. And I need to correct, because it's not in alignment with who I think I am intellectually, or with the goal that I've set up for myself. It is tilted to the side. It's kind of so warped that I have to figure out a way to realign myself to my own internal axis and belief system, and I have to figure out a way to change this. And this idea of correction brings me to the concept of karma. In Sanskrit, karma means to make and to do. In Hebrew, it translates as correction and repair. And I want to use those symbols because I don't want you to think, because a lot of times, like I was like asking a friend of mine, what does karma mean? Revenge, retribution. That's not what karma is. Karma is not an eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth. That's not karma. Karma is correction and repair. It's not about punishment. It's not about hurting somebody else equally. It's about you learning the lesson. And the moment the lesson is done, you've learned it and you've truly integrated it, it's over. It's finished. There is no other pain and no other suffering for you to go through. And more importantly, it's not a passive state of being punished. It's the exact opposite. It's me seeking repair and seeking correction. And so through the lens of these three frequencies, truth, authenticity, and transparency, I will see the parts of me that are incomplete, that are broken, that are tilted to the side, that needs correction. And it will trigger, when I see these tilted things, it will trigger certain kind of connection that I have to not only to myself internally, to who I think I am, but more importantly also to who I think I am in relationship to other people. Because it's one thing to correct the stuff that are internal to us and take responsibility, because the idea of the Ho'oponopono is taking 50% responsibility for all connection, that energetic exchange that we have between us and other people, to understand that everything is 50-50. I was talking to a friend this afternoon, early afternoon, and I was trying to explain to her, it matters not who started the ping pong match in the karma, whether it was 1,000 lifetime ago. It doesn't matter who started it and who is culpable. You did this to me. No, you did this to me. It's not relevant. The point is that there is tension between us being held at 2 points. I'm going to take the preemptive step of asking for forgiveness because I don't want any more tension. I'm letting go. I am asking for forgiveness by asking for forgiveness and telling you, please forgive me for any damage that I may have caused you, any offense from the beginning of time until now, whether it was by thought, by deed, by word, by action, by inaction. Forgive me. And once I am done asking for this forgiveness, I replace it now with unconditional love. I have no ill will toward you. Now that's the first part of correcting the tikkun, or correcting the karma and the repair. The second part, and that's the most difficult part to do, is that if you are in a toxic relationship with somebody, let's say for 800 lifetime, I've seen, trust me, I'm my experience in dealing with clients, I have seen people who for over 1 million years have had the same toxic connection with the same person for millions and millions of years. We are not as smart as we think we are, and we keep echoing and repeating the same thing. And when you realize how long it took you to finally acknowledge that the blame is on both sides, that I equally played a part in this, and to ask for forgiveness. You may ask for the person for forgiveness, and the disconnection of the cord may be released partly. But the section that's the most difficult to do is for me to forgive myself for being so dense and so stubborn and so unwise and so myopic for not seeing this for over millions of years. And I have at that point to say the Ho'oponopono to myself, to the part of me that's broken, to the part of me that's so stubborn, to the part of me that was so unwise. I have to sit down and open up that part of me and say, please forgive me. I love you unconditionally and I let go. You have to accept yourself with your brokenness, with the part of you that couldn't figure it out, that couldn't get it. And the moment you do this, the real healing will begin. The karma, the repair is done. So there are two parts to the repair of karma. You ask the other party for forgiveness, and then you have to forgive yourself for having acted or abused the other person, or for, if you were victimized, for letting yourself be victimized for 300 years, 1,000 years, or multiple lifetimes, and not standing up for yourself. And the moment that happened, the repair is done. The moment the repair is done, that's an issue you'll never have to deal with again. Now, also important in this equation is the fact that we also have karma because we belong to group bodies. And I'm going to try to explain this in much more detail than I did last week. So a group body in French, the French term for it is egrégoire. An egrégoire is not just a group spiritual body. It is actually a living psychic entity that is composed of the member of that group. It's the collective psyche of everyone that belongs to that group that creates a greater, larger psychic entity called the egrégoire. Now, because the collective, the people who belong to the group, are not all evolved ascended masters, you can have an egrégoire, for example, that belongs to a gang. Because, egrégoire can be composed by any group we belong to. It could be a family, it could be a sports team, it could be a book club, it could be a church, it could be our own spiritual group, okay? So there are different levels of egrégoire. There are those who are very, very unevolved, and there are those group bodies and psychic entities that are extremely sophisticated and extremely and the way they do it is that it serves the members. The members participate by doing certain kind of ritual, like for example, if you belong to a sports team, every time you rehearse, not rehearse, but you go to practice with the group. If you belong to a choir, every time you rehearse, every time you sit down, or if you belong to a theater group, every time there are certain things that when you do, and then there are moments when the egrégoire takes over. I'm going to try to explain this in a way I hope that you will get it. Let's say, for example, you belong to a theater group, and you're performing and all that, and you do all the rehearsal and all that. The day of the opening night or the day of the actual play, you're about to do something, and you feel a weakness in yourself, and you feel you're nervous, you're scared, you're out of character. But when you go to perform, something takes over, and the character and everything else take over, and then you shine. It is the egrégoire of the group body that has taken over. It is a living psychic being that is greater than the sum of the part that has completely taken over. And everybody that is witnessing you is in awe. It could be also for you performing, like let's say you're playing basketball or baseball. At one point, an egrégoire can take over. Now, the egrégoire has a positive aspect, which is in the sense that it can let you access. But at that moment, you have to be in such alignment to the let's say it's in theater, to the performance. You have to be in such alignment and service to make sure that I want to deliver this the way it's supposed to be delivered for people to benefit from it. Then the egregore will drop in. I want you to get this nuance because I want you to understand that the egregore also has, so that's the positive aspect of the egregore. Now, if you're a gang or you belong to a gang leader, there is a negative aspect of that egregore, which is to kill, to transport illegal narcotic, drugs, whatever, and that is completely negative. So that all egregores have a positive aspect and they also have a negative aspect because the members that belong to it are not perfect. They're human beings. They're flawed. And the collective flaw exists in that entity. The collective goodness or the desire to bring something that uplifts humanity, if this is the purpose of the egregore, also exists in it. And when members have problem and they need to access it, they will access it. I'm going to give you an example. Years ago, I belonged to multiple egregore or group body that were, when I was in mystery school, I took initiation, I did all kinds of things. And there's a group body, an egregore that belongs to this. I was visiting somewhere and one person that was part of our group happened to have, in a hotel somewhere, was psychically attacked. Other members from other mystery schools, different branch of mystery school, came to visit to help heal this person that got sick. And at some point, the person who got attacked connected, because if you know how to do it, you can connect on the higher aspect of the egregore. And at that moment, one of the other members from another group from Europe looked at the person that was ill and said, "Oh, you just call on your egregore." He saw it. The egregore will protect you, but the egregore also has flaws, and those flaws can be connected to the karma of the collective. And that karma of the collective can infiltrate and enter into, even though at the moment you may not be necessarily triggered, but because you belong to the group and the group is going through a karmic evolutionary process, giving truth, authenticity, and transparency, then it's going to trigger in you also a karmic challenge for you to correct. And the way the egregore is going to grow and evolve is by enough members making corrections individually, and eventually it will release a different frequency of correction into the group body, and the group body will correct. Does anything I'm saying here make sense?
Well, I certainly understand. The curious thing for me to try to verbalize is the egregore of whatever the entity or the group is that belongs to this incarnation, maybe only this time round, right? You could have had in past lives different group bodies,
yes,
associated with, right? And what really should be, I would think, the most powerful egregore is your monadic,
yes,
group body that would, okay, they're mixed, I suppose, levels of consciousness there as well, but wouldn't that be the surer connection to try to call upon?
absolutely. Or even better yet, and even you're totally right. The higher the group body is, the more spiritually aligned it is, the stronger it's going to be. Your monad is composed of the 144 pieces that compose who you are. Your true fifth dimensionally ascended self that has shattered into pieces. And now in 3D, you're just one aspect and you have 143 other aspects that are shattered and gathered in other dimension, other realities, other places, or even on Earth, incarnated as other people. So the idea is that if you can, and there's a whole process that I've taught you. We went through all of this, the monadic merger. We went through years of doing that kind of training of how to connect to the monad, how to call upon these energies and the virtues, the abilities, and the powers that they have, and ultimately that's the highest egregore to bring yourself back together, right? The wisdom of the mighty I am presence, and also the monadic merger. But I wanna also bring to your understanding one egregore that's extremely important, particularly for what we're going through right now. And that egregore is the egregore of the Guardian Alliance of Light. Okay? Yes, the monadic merger, you need to connect to all parts of yourself. But that will only take you to 5D. The Guardian Alliance of Light is a collective of dimensional beings that exist in all dimension of time and space and that have already achieved neutrality. And there, as an act of generosity and as a radiation of love, they come into our field to share with us in 4D the peace, the serenity, and the neutrality that they know. They project it into us. Then in 5D, they do the same thing. In 6D, in 7D, in 8D, all the way, like a gigantic column or a Russian babushka, all the way back into God, into the throne room of God. We in 3D are members of the Guardian Alliance of Light to be. And why I'm saying to be is that because we are not neutral. It's an alliance and a connection with beings who have achieved neutrality. And we are still struggling to be completely neutral. And this is the reason why I keep saying all the time that the Guardians can create the torsion field around you, but we in 3D are responsible for being neutral ourselves. That's why we're doing the query. That's why we're doing the self-assessment. That's why we're doing the talking to our call. We're trying or do all the things that I just talked about for the past half hour, which is trying to figure out where we are and making the correction. By us doing this, we're becoming neutral. And when we're fully neutral, we become now, because the Guardians Alliance of Light begins in 4D and goes above that. In 3D, we are the grounding rod for that alliance. And I want you to understand also that giving all the distractions that are going on around the world, giving all of the inflation of feelings and emotion that can happen to other group bodies, because yes, we do the torsion field, so therefore, through the practice of the torsion field that we allow the Guardian to create around us on a daily basis, we are participating in the group body. Right? If you're doing it on a daily basis, you're participating in the group body. And by that, you're affirming your presence in the collective. And I want to explain to you that that group body is probably one of the highest that you can belong to because, okay, I'm going to explain to you where the highest part of it is. If you remember several classes ago, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to mess up the broadcast. by doing the begone time and space and the projection of your antacorona outside of yourself to create the measure of God. Many of you have asked me, how do you do this, Pierre? Because you seem to do it the moment you do it, things begin to go wonky all around you, and you're able to. How do you have the authority to do it? The authority comes from the egregore of the Guardian Alliance of Light, the higher aspect of the egregore. Because in one short sentence, you say, begone time and space, and you project your hand out, you banish time and space immediately. One snap, it's banished. You and I cannot command this. But the entire egregore, the entire group body of all these dimensional beings are capable of doing it. That's the authority, that's the power. What am I saying? In order for us, and the reason why I'm reminding you to do this again, it's because there is enough, if you can see the future, there's enough unusual challenges that the planet and the people in our care are going to experience, that we're going to have to activate this antacorona process or the ceremonial magic process, this theurgy, the celestial magic, to project it outside of ourselves and to cast out time and space and whatever is happening at that moment and create a measure of God or a space where we will order the forces of nature through the power of the Guardian Alliance of Light and our consciousness. We will decree that nature give protection or provide healing or withdraw disaster from that area for that moment. And the authority to do this comes from the entire egregore that the Guardian Alliance of Light belongs to. Because simple Pierre, simple Janice, simple Esther, simple Bobby cannot do it. We don't have the strength, the gonad, the umfta to actually do this. Any questions, any comments? Janice, I think last week you were asking about exactly this kind of authority and this kind of thing on how to do it. And I was saying to you that when I see you sing, every time you sing at Wesak, I see a goddess.
Well, I share with you one story then. This morning in my meditation, what was the turning point, what enabled me to take that power to banish time and space was an experience of seeing who I am, as though dissolving fabric cocoon, if you will, around me was disintegrating. And instead of that cocoon, what I saw was a luminous column of light.
There you go.
And then I said, I felt that connecting to that power, and the begone time and space exercise took on a whole different dynamic.
There you go.
Amen.
There you go. There you go. I'm trying to, because it's hard to explain it because you have to know there to go there. Right? You blink, you miss it. But it's not complicated, it's not rocket science. Because it's a state of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment you get it, it's there. I remember somebody on YouTube had asked me about how do you resonate, all that stuff, and I'm like, I'm trying to explain it to you, but I know I sound like I'm Charlie Brown, blah 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 blah, because you're not connecting to what I'm saying. But I'm trying to articulate, and the best way I can articulate today is to make you understand that there is an egregore or group body that's of beings who are in all dimensions of time and space. And guess what? In the 4D, in the 5D, in the 6D, there is actually an aspect of you that exists in there that is projecting into the you in 3D, the peace, the neutrality that they know, that you know in that dimension.
Mm.
Because as you cascade down the dimensional scale from the throne room of God to where you are right now, you left all of these fragments behind. You left all of these powers and abilities behind. What you're connecting to is not foreign to you. It actually belongs to you. And when you ask for it to manifest and you say, begone time and space, it happens in a snap. One of the things I'm suggesting to all of you, for those of you who are still struggling to get into that alignment and understand it, repeat the torsion field, because it takes not even 5 minutes to do it. Do it over and over and over again. Like today, I was walking. I walk 30 to 40 minutes each direction every day, and I go sit and meditate and chat with my friends. And as I do this, as I'm walking back or going forward, I do the torsion field as I'm walking. Keep doing it over and over again. What's the best way I can describe this? Forgive me for struggling, because in my mind, in my awareness, it's such a normal and natural thing. It feels like breathing. But to explain it, I have to do a whole bunch of, it is like I have to do a whole bunch of convoluted things to try to articulate it in a way that will impact or be visual to you. So, years ago, when the Guardians came to me in 2008 and showed themselves to me, and I was doing the torsion field all the time, all the time, all the time. I'm doing yoga. I do a standing tree. I do the torsion field on one leg. I do the standing tree on the other leg. I was doing it all the time, all the time, all the time. And my connection to the collective was so palpable. I could be gone time and space like in a blank. Now, giving all the distraction with all of the things that are happening for my greater evolution and benefit, they are not happening because sometime in order for you to grow, you have to pause. It's like going to the gym. You don't go to the gym every day and work muscle, the same muscle. You will never evolve and grow. You have to take a rest. So there are moments where you have to take a pause. It's the sine wave. There are moments you have to dip down. So there are moments in my growth recently where things ebb down. And in that dip, a lot of events happened in my life that made me doubt even my connection to the Guardian and also light. It made me doubt all kinds of things. But in the upswing, going backward, but back up, my connection to the torsion field changed. It is not what it was in 2008 or even 2019. It's not the same. I see and understand and energetically project the torsion field in a completely different way. And I'm trying to acclimate myself to what it is that I'm understanding right now, because my memory of what the torsion field was and my connection into that collective is so different now that I have to readjust my consciousness into the new position that I find myself in. Thus, I am repeating the torsion field now obsessively multiple times a day to myself as a way to reconnect and reacclimate myself into the field and how I belong. in as a member, full-fledged member of the Guardian Alliance of Light. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. And what I always remember, don't do the torsion field until you're neutral, however, because you'll expand on the whatever the issue is, the fear or the problem, and blow it out exponentially, right? So yes, do it as often as that when you're neutral.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And because since we are, what's the best way to put this? Think of beads that are in a necklace. It's 12 torsion field, there are 12 beads. In order for the string to move through the center of it, they all have to be aligned with each other. You and I are the 13th bead on Earth because the torsion field are nested on top of us. So if I am out of my alignment because I'm not neutral, the torsion field will not align correctly and I will not express neutrality. I will not manifest neutrality on Earth. I will manifest something else. Whatever is my concern, my fear, my worry at the moment, that's what I will manifest. You're right for this warning, Janice. By all means, if you are in the wrong alignment and the wrong consciousness and you're struggling to your own panic and your own fear or whatever that may be aware of this, okay? And understand at that moment, I should do more query, I should understand, I should process, and I should surrender and do the forgiveness and do whatever it is. Move through it, and once you move through it, then do the torsion field. And if we can do this, our connection to, and the reason I'm saying this is that there is enough crisis in the near future of the collective karma of the Earth, where the beyond time and space is going to be an ability that's going to be needed for us to shepherd and protect the people in our care. Now, we are not going to take their karma. And this is the next part about this. The idea of the Lamb of God and the sacrifice for us to take the karma of the world and take the karma, the pain and the suffering of others. This is not what God wants from us. It is the early Christians, meaning by that the disciples of Christ, the people who met Jesus, like Mark, Luke, Matthew, Thomas, Peter, these disciples that lived with Christ understood the God that Christ was teaching them was a God that was filled with love, with light, and also with abundant living. There was nowhere in there room for suffering as being noble, as being a higher virtue, as taking a bullet for somebody else and getting hurt for someone else as being something that is noble. Nowhere was this part of the teachings. St. Paul, who was that became converted to Christianity a century after the ascension of Christ, never met Jesus. He didn't know any of these teachings. He connected to a light. And by the way, the church, up to that point, the Christian church was following the teaching of Christ that was the gospel that Peter, who founded the Church of God, that St. Peter was teaching them, which is no sacrifice, no pain, no suffering. And Paul, in his apostle, and trying to explain to the other convert what he understood Christ to be, brought ideas that were from other belief systems about the Lamb of God and the sacrifice. God does not want you to suffer for someone else. When you're doing the Beyond Time and Space, or when you're doing the other part, the way all the way to broadcast, which is may the peace, the serenity, the love, and the liberation that I know pass on to you. And we say pass on to you, you project your generosity and your alignment, your antakarana, onto energetically where you sense the person to be, you project it onto them. Okay? Similar process, whereas the Beyond Time and Space is more, it's more demonstrative and it's more ceremonial magic. Whereas this could be in meditation and in prayer, you just pass on the blessings that you know to someone else. When you pass on this blessing, you're not taking the karma. What you're saying is that I know a place where my burden have been removed, and I can take you there so that your burden can be removed, which is I am not the healer. God is the healer. When you do the Beyond God, Time, and Space, that the change that you're orchestrating temporarily to shift the environment around you, that power does not come from you. It comes from the blessed field, because in the blessed field is an endless sea of possibility, corrections, and repairs. All the laws of the universe and their opposite and all their permutations exist in the blessed field. All you're doing by saying Beyond Time and Space and you create that measure of God, you're asking the blessed field to anchor down in 3D a different set of circumstances to protect momentarily the people that are under your care and protection. And what I mean by that, that you're being the shepherd for. You're not gonna take their karma. Everybody will have to learn. And as I said, you temporarily shift something to give them an opportunity to examine. Because when you say, for example, may the peace and the serenity that I know, you pass on that energy to someone, and you do it enough time around them, after a moment, they will remember that that frequency exists in them. They have access to it, and they have the ability to also command it and connect to it and seek it and be in its presence by their own merit and their own effort. This is the hope. It is not for me to have, all these leeches attached to me when I go into that space and I'm trying to, and they're sucking down in my blood, and I'm passing on this energy onto them. You temporarily shift them and bring them into that space. And in fact, if you feel depleted, if you feel weak, if you feel drained after you do any of these things that I'm describing now, it's because you're sacrificing. You should feel actually at rest. You should feel, if anything, you should feel high. You should feel euphoric. You should feel joyful, and you should feel grateful. It should feel like blinking an eyelid, like the most natural thing in the world. If on the other hand, you're feeling drained, you're feeling exhausted, you feel like, or you're in pain, and every part of your body hurt, or if that is happening, you're sacrificing. There's a corruption of the understanding that I'm sharing with you. There's a subconscious part of you that is still connected to the sacrifice and the domestication that the church has done. And let me tell you, they did it very well to make us believe that kind of lie. Because it's the way they maintain their power on humanity. Any questions, any comments? So the idea of us connecting to group bodies and understanding what to do, when to do it, is connected to ability to self-assess. So the idea of us constantly monitoring our way our consciousness is, and I want you to understand one more thing I want to say before I move forward with the idea of the beyond time and space and the idea of the theurgy and the ceremonial magic and the celestial magic. The laws of physics that exist in 3D, the laws of nature that exist in 3D, are collectively created by the group body of humanity, by the collective unconscious or humanity who's making a silent agreement that these are the rules. An unspoken agreement. And when you say beyond time and space, you're casting yourself out of that entire agreement. You nullify it and you're superseding it by accessing the blessed field where there is an endless number of permutation of potential for manifestation of all kinds of rules, all kinds of things that could happen. You're going into that field and you're accessing it. And once that beyond time and space and the torsion field gets created as you project the Antakarana out, once that is done, then the blessed field, NU, in other words, consciousness, in this instance, collective consciousness of the entire Guardian Alliance of Light, will select what is for the benefit of the people in your care. Consciousness creates, nullify, supersede, and stabilize all the forces of nature. Consciousness is the beginning, it is the end. And because we are also conscious beings, our consciousness have access to lift ourselves up to the highest level. Because the beyond time and space, again, I hesitated to share with the world, but my guide are telling me to share it because there might be people who are listening to us who are understanding all of this intellectually. But at moments of crisis, if they remember this and they are doing the torsion field and they connect to the egregore of the torsion field, the egregore of the torsion field will help them and anchor into them the ability and the authority to truly resonate this and to immediately shift the script and protect those that are around them. And that's the reason why I'm sharing this. Now, one may ask, can somebody use this for the wrong reason? You may try, but I can tell you, you're going to hurt yourself. It's going to backfire big time. Because the forces of the Guardian Alliance of Light exist in neutrality. When you're calling that egregore, if you're not neutral, in other words, the 13 bead that you are, if you're battling and you're not neutral and you're out of alignment, Remember, the torsion field manifests everything. So if you're battling and you're angry and you're trying to hurt somebody with that, everything will backfire to you. It's like throwing a ball against a wall, the ball will bounce right back at you. It's going to make it worse. I remember years ago, I had students and I was teaching the torsion field and all that. And I had these students who used to be in battling all the time, psychically, constantly having altercation with people, and they're claiming neutrality. They spoke eloquently about being neutral and being that or the other, and good vibration and frequency and all that. But in their subconscious mind existed chaos. They are at war with themselves and with everyone else. And they couldn't do the torsion field after a while, because every time they do the torsion field, whatever it is they were trying to cast out got worse. I've had so many people who were battling, whether they were battling consciously or unconsciously. If you're doing this unconsciously, as you do this, the energy is going to get around you will get worse. Whatever it is that you're trying to cast out because you're battling with them and you're trying to use the torsion field as a weapon against them, it's going to get worse. So I'm not afraid of somebody. If anything, if your intention and your heart is not pure and you're trying to use this, what's going to happen is that it's going to backfire so much on you. You're going to either think that there's something corrupt with what I'm telling you because it's not something that doesn't work for you, or you're going to think that I'm evil because of what I taught you is evil, or you're going to think that what I'm saying is complete nonsense. So to those of you, and this is why I wanted to talk about the nature of the egregore and what the egregore actually is. It's a living, actual entity, psychic entity. And of course, there are egregores that are very low vibration, as I say, gangs. There are egregores that are high, like the guardian lines of light, or your own monad, that are so high, so sophisticated, or for that matter, the ascended masters. When you go to the second ray ashram or the first ray ashram, they all are part of group bodies. Or if you're calling, for example, the Elohim Council of God, you can call it very specific Elohim. But when you're calling the Elohim, the entire Elohim of the Council or the Holy Host, it's an entire egregore. And it has tremendous power that way surpass any of the members' abilities. I hope that concept is clear about the group body, because particularly when the egregore is very elevated, that higher aspect can become like an incredible, on a dime, it will turn on for you. When you're in danger, for example, big on time and space, when there's a danger and you need to access that ability so that you can protect the people, it will turn immediately for you. The egregore will take over and you will be able to manifest it.
Could I ask a question here, Pierre?
Yes.
When you do big on time and space, it's important, is it, to have the issue in your mind as you say that? In other words, you have to be focused in the intention.
You have to be focused. You have to be focused. So the enemy explain. Thank you for asking. I didn't get into that details. So the first thing is that, let's say, for example, God forbid, you see a twist or a tornado coming toward you. and you have people in your care, and you want to protect them. And you say, you connect, and you say the beyond time and space. And when you do this, you project with your hand outstretched, after you open and close your palm, you project out there and you say beyond time and space. And then at that moment, when you see space, the antacorana is already moved. And you're seeing that column of light that you saw in your vision outside of yourself in the middle of the space where you're going to try now to have the guardian create a torsion field around that axis, that core. And then you witness, you keep your hand outstretched, your eyes focus on that location, and you keep taking deep breath. As you take the breath, you follow the guardian eyes of light. First torsion field created. Second torsion field. Around the axis that you don't take your eyes off. You're still, and you're doing this. And as you do this, 12 of them gets created. Once they are created, then you say to yourself, silently or loud, whatever desire or wish that you have to protect those in your care. In the event that it's a flood, water withdrawal, or if there's a twister, you cannot come here. We're too vulnerable. We're going to get hurt by your presence here. You don't say to forces of nature, you're not Gandalf at the bridge of Khazad-dûm. You don't say to them, you shall not pass. But you communicate with them and make them understand from your heart the danger and the people you're trying to protect. Help protect my people. Help find a way to do what you need to do without destroying our life. Does that make any sense now, Janice?
Yes, that added a whole new dimension to the beyond time and space that I was not remembering, I guess.
Yes. You set a beyond time and space, and you by the time you do this, it's already projected outside of you. So the light and the alignment, for example, if you're doing your torsion field all the time, the access to the torsion field, the verticality that you feel with the torsion field, when you say beyond time and space, it's projected outside. And that verticality is in space, in the middle of the space where you're trying to now manifest the exception to the laws of nature. And you now ask the guardian to create the torsion field around that axis. And follow with your breath. And when all 12 of them are done, your wish for the exception is released. You placed it in there. And when you placed it, the measure of God is created. The laws of nature will temporarily be superseded.
How does that apply when the beyond time and space is directed at yourself? It's something about yourself rather than
you can do this. Absolutely. Because particularly when you're struggling with things that seems to be so big that you don't know how to overcome them. Yes, you can apply it to yourself. Absolutely.
So then you wouldn't project out.
You're not projecting it. You're still seeing it in your core.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, you're not projecting it. But you let the guardian come in and create it and all that, and then you now ask for the exception.
So would it be fair to say you ask for the result and let God, let the guardians decide how it's done?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Like when Gandalf said, you shall not pass. You don't know how you release the decree. You don't know how it's going to happen. In this instance, he was standing on a bridge that was held by 2 points. he was sending way past the middle of the bridge, if you see the movie. The part of the bridge where he was standing at the very edge collapsed in front of him where the demon was coming. And he was still standing on the edge and nothing was holding the bridge.
I understand. And the part that I was missing was the torsion field after the begone
Yes.
time.
Yes. Yes. You asked for the guardian to come in to create the torsion field.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Because when you say the begone time and space, the egregore, the complete egregore of the guardian eyes of light are now grounded in you.
Is the begone time and space then a tool, that's not the right word, of the guardian alliance of light? I mean, there are other egregores, right? There when
Yes.
we have all kinds of groups that are high ascended
Yes.
group, but is it always the guardians then that are
Yes.
associated with?
It is always the guardian because the begone time and space is a banishment of anything that's 3D related, and it's connecting you to the access to all higher dimension all at once.
Wow.
Do you see what I mean? This is how potent that stuff is.
Wow. So yes, so because the guardians are part of committed to helping us in 3D or as well as other dimension levels, that means that the higher groups of beings would not then be called in on the begone time and space.
Right. Honestly, the torsion field of the guardian ions of light is okay, it's a, what's the wet word to say it? I don't want to say teleportation device. It's like being in an airport. Because if you keep practicing the torsion field in any location for a long time, you will begin to realize that where you're practicing it all the time and doing it all the time, it creates other kind of beings come in and use that portal to go into higher dimension.
For some reason, the name has just gone out of my head. You channel this group.
The Galactic Region Council?
Yes.
Yes.
So why wouldn't it be they that would?
The Galactic Region Council belong to the center of the galaxy, of our galaxy. They are not dimensionally, they are not dedicated. It's a question of specialty. It's not that one is better than the other. They have different specialties.
Yes, yes. Okay. I just wasn't necessarily referring to them particularly, but as a question to know how the alignment of to which egregore
Yes.
that was attached to this particular
Yes.
exercise. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Because other collective, for example, Dr. Lawson and the 12 Galactic Healers, all that, that's Milky Way galaxy connected. Each one of them have different expertise. They are very high and very sophisticated, but the Guardian Lines of have the unique thing that they are in all dimension of time and space. And when you call them, they come in, the complete egregore comes in to give you that access, and they create a funnel and doorway. I don't know if you remember this, but when we were at Gaville many years ago, a lot of time we would sit in there doing something and you hear someone coming in the driveway with a car, the door open, the door closed. You go to take a look, no one is there. It's because the anchoring of the torsion field in that location created a portal in a doorway. And other dimensional beings were coming to use it all the time.
Oh. Oh my goodness. It opens portals.
Yes. This is what happened with the big home time and space. What do you think you're doing? You're shifting reality into something else.
I have no words to describe my feeling right now. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it opens portals. I remember what's her name, Emma, was staying at the house years ago, and she used to say all the time, she's sleeping in upstairs, and she's hearing people with their suitcase and their bag rolling to the hallway. She get up, turn on the light. No one is there.
But
She
there's
she,
no
she used the
dimension.
term airport, but it's not really an airport. It's a dimensional passage.
Yes, yes. Don't all dimensions exist in the same space, so to speak, but just in a different dimension?
Yes, they all exist in the same space, but because of the amount of time that we've practiced this and the ceremony and all the things we did, it bent and created a doorway.
Wow. So,
Almost
so
like
that,
a groove to allow ascent and descent of the dimensional doorway. In other places, the fabric was not so malleable.
wow, that's like the intergalactic voyagers who know how to transport that doesn't require time and space.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
That's exciting. That the sense of being able to do that, that veil, as Celidia said a couple of weeks ago, veil is thinning
Yes.
and the portals then are becoming more accessible.
So this is an invitation for all of us to practice the torsion field more and more and to connect. Again, 5 minutes. I don't drive a car unless I sit in the car at the wheel. I let the car so-called warm up, but I'm not warming up the car only. I'm sitting at the car at the wheel and I'm actually doing a torsion field around the vehicle. I don't go anywhere without doing this. I do it multiple times a day. Not just in the morning or at night. I do it multiple times a day. And the more you do it, the more you will connect and you will create a it will become a almost an indentation or a groove that will allow this. I used to say all the time, I remember telling you this, that I feel sometimes that I have a flashlight above my head. I go inside the store, it becomes very small. I go in, and I step out, I go in the street, poof, it's above my head, like I have a spotlight. That's what I mean about the spotlight. It's the actual torsion field.
You know, you talk about the ease of doing a quick torsion field, but um, I sometimes like to do the slow version, and at each creation of the torsion field, I say I release all fears, attachments. What is it?
Yeah, yeah, I know. I release all attachment, feels in control.
Yes, and
Yeah,
control, and I surrender into the great emptiness and infinite luminosity, and that helps me to get into
sure.
neutrality of that each on each of those. Is that does that make sense?
Yes, yes, yes. If you have more time, it's actually better.
Yes. Okay.
If you have more time, it's actually better. But the reason I'm saying to do it quickly, 5 minutes, it's because we're busy doing so many things, particularly for me and you and me, Janice, we're in the middle of New York City. Our life is so hectic. There's so much energy and so much stuff that's bombarding us as empath all the time.
Mm.
I need to do this multiple times to refresh myself back into the neutrality because I'm constantly colliding with other force field and other energy system that have other intentions.
Mm. Oh, that's a good point.
And I need to go back to that alignment because it's through that alignment and find me grounding it over and over and over again. It it's that alignment that will allow humanity to find the beacon that will take them into the new earth.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Any other comments or questions? Okay, let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll do the closing meditation. 5 minutes.
Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And notice what you noticed. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And become aware of any information data and knowing that your core is trying to communicate with you. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender to the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender to the great emptiness and endless luminosity. In the blessed field, I merge my consciousness and I align my core with the egregore of the Guardian Alliance of Light. Begone time and space. And the guardian alliance of light approach you, offering to gift you their shields of light and protection and the band of neutrality. If you are ready to accept this gift at this time, answer affirmatively and let the energy of the first guardian enter at the bottom of your feet, counter-rotating, passing through your core, exiting outside of your head, and going into source and creating all around you the torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the top of your head extends and it attracts now the energy of the second guardian, rotating clockwise, cascading from source, passing through the top of your head, exiting at the bottom of your feet and moving into the core of the earth and creating all around you a torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the bottom of your feet extends and it attracts now the energy of the third guardian, counter-rotating, moving through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, exiting outside of your head, and creating in source and all around you a torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the top of your head extends and it attracts now the energy of the fourth guardian, cascading down from source, passing through the top of your head and moving through you, exiting at the bottom of your feet and creating all around you the torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the bottom of your feet extends and it attracts now the energy of the fifth guardian, counter-rotating, moving through you, exiting outside of your head, and going into source and creating all around you the torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the top of your head extends and it attracts now the energy of the sixth guardian, cascading down, rotating clockwise, passing through the top of your head, moving through your core, exiting at the bottom of your feet, and creating into the core of the earth and all around you a torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the bottom of your feet extends and attracts now the energy of the seventh guardian, counter-rotating, passing through the bottom of your feet, moving through your core, exiting outside of your head and going into source and creating all around you the torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the top of your head extends and it attracts now the energy of the eighth guardian, cascading down from source, while rotating clockwise, passing through the top of your head, moving through you, exiting at the bottom of your feet, and going to the core of the earth and creating all around you a torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the bottom of your feet extends and it attracts now the energy of the ninth guardian, counter-rotating, moving through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, exiting outside of your head, and going into source while creating all around you the torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the top of your head extends and attracts now the energy of the 10th guardian, cascading down from source while rotating clockwise, passing through you, exiting at the bottom of your feet and creating all around you the torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the bottom of your feet extends as it attracts now the energy of the 11th guardian, counter-rotating, moving through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, exiting outside of your head, and going into source while creating all around you the torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the top of your head extends and it attracts down the energy of the 12th guardian, cascading down from source, rotating clockwise, passing through the top of your head, moving through you, and sitting at the bottom of your feet and creating all around you the torsion field of neutrality. Observe the 12 counter-rotating axes that are spinning in your core. Heal my soul, my body, and all aspects of my life. Lord, give me the serenity to know that I am supported. For you are my foundation, guide, and shepherd. Though I sail to turbulent waters, I am at rest, for you are with me. Navigate me and humanity into peaceful shores. Help me become your grounding rod and help manifest your kingdom. Inspire me to guide humanity into a loving, peaceful, ascended, and tolerant world. For we are all God's children, equally deserving of your gift, love, and mercy. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready,
you can open your eyes.
Thank you for that, Pierre, and for very helpful class as well.
You're welcome, Janice. You're welcome. I want to thank you all for listening to me tonight. If you're listening to us on Patreon, thank you for the support. On YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel, increase the algorithm, let more people know, and share our secret with the world. Deep love, everyone. I'll talk to you next week. Blessing.
Good night.
Good night.